All right, Path of Exile just dropped a kind of surprise out of nowhere video that's announcing like pretty large changes. To give you a spoiler alert, towers gone here with Jonathan with a thumb up. But it's not just towers being gone. Towers and tablets, getting a rework here. There's modifier additions, map sizes that are too large are getting shrunk down, Atlas tree changes, Citadel spawn increase, and annoying shit like chilled shock and igniting ground are all getting nerfed as well. So we're going to go through all of these. We'll watch the video, break down the changes as well. Now, they said originally in 0.4 is when their next big content update, and that 0.4 is not only when the Druid is coming, they've already announced that, but also is more of an in-game focus for changes coming to the game. So these changes that you're seeing here, we all expected to be in the next league, but actually what they said is these are the changes that are coming next week. Like, early as in next week. It's Friday over there, so we can start expecting them to have the weekend. And then these are coming out in 0.31, which will be next week. Way sooner than I assume most of us would have expected major in-game changes to be. So let's go ahead and break down what they are after a quick word from today's sponsor. Before we continue the video, I want to give a shout out of this channel's new sponsor, Displate. For the new Path of Exile 2 update, Displate has actually released a new series of Path of Exile 2 posters. And we have some of those right here. Take a look at that. They're very high quality metal posters that have texture on it as well, as you can see. They're unique metal posters designed as an alternative to paper posters or canvas prints, with over 2 million artworks available in their catalog, from IPs like Star Wars, Marvel, Elden Ring, Call of Duty, Warhammer, The Witcher, Netflix, and many other iconic brands and franchises. There's something for everyone, basically. Here's another personal favorite of mine, the Divine Orb. They're also easy to mount. Each one comes with a magnet. Stick the magnet on the wall, pop it on the wall, you're good to go. And they're also easy to swap out. I have a Diablo display that's been up there for a while. I can take and put up the PoE one right over it. They offer fast delivery also, so each display should arrive between 4 and 5 business days, giving you just enough time to plan how you want to arrange them. And there's a ton of options, so it makes a great gift as well. You can check out these new PoE designs and many more by clicking the link in the description or going to displate.com/@DM and use my code DM to get the best deal. Thanks again to Displate for sponsoring this channel, as I am actually very big fan of Displate. I've already got several of them, and the PoE 2 ones in particular look absolutely phenomenal. All right, so in their presentation video, they basically talked about how the towers are something that people just don't enjoy at the moment. So instead what we're doing is they're bypassing the towers, where you put in a waystone and now the tablets actually go into the slot of the map themselves. So effectively now your tablets can each individualize for each one of the actual maps. And in the same way, the amount of tablets you could use on tower is determined by the amount of things here, the affixes you have on your waystone, same thing. So if you're running one with 0 revives available, you have 6 things on it, you get all 3 tablets available, basically the same way that the towers ran previously. But one of the things you might be thinking when you read this is like, okay, well, doesn't this actually reduce the top end of juicing? Because you could have like 3 towers before and they overlap, and now we only get 3 tablets per map. Doesn't this actually lower the amount of juice you could get in a map? So they actually acknowledge this, and because of this, they are buffing tablets. So here's just a couple of examples here. Instead of 10 to 30% rarity, or goes to 10 to 30% rarity, instead of 7 to 10% rarity that they had previously here, the teaming one goes to 25 to 70% increase in magic mobs from 15 to 25%. So effectively, the floor is being raised up a pretty good amount. That way you don't have to constantly have these overlap towers in order to be able to run really juiced maps. This should basically decrease the amount of time that you're spent going to find multiple overlapping towers and increase the amount of time that you're actually in juiced maps. They are also adding new additional modifiers you can get on the tablets. For instance, just the examples they have here, contains extra shrine, additional strongbox, additional essence, 1 additional rogue exile. So now you can basically guarantee with these tablets there's a rogue exile, which might be interesting if you're trying to farm like the jewel that comes from having a rogue exile inside of one of the abyssal depths, for instance. You have the additional Asmiri spirit, additional summoning circle, and an additional chance to contain another summoning circle. These are pretty nice additions because one of the feedback points I've seen related to in-game is the lack of being able to kind of design a map around the way you want the map to actually, you know, function. So having more modifier options that will allow you to do things like, for instance, making sure it's just guaranteed to have a rogue exile is always welcome. You might also wonder about the number of uses for a tablet, because before you put a tablet into the map, it would get consumed, but now you can see here 10 uses remaining on the tablet. So the tablets themselves have their own uses for them. That way you can have like really good tablets and then use them on the maps you actually want to be able to run. Another nice thing about this is because now tablets are segregated from the towers themselves, you actually have more options in terms of which maps you actually want to run. So instead of having a juiced area and I have to run all of the layouts that I don't like because that is where the juice is, now you can actually go and pick basically the maps you want and put the juice on those maps. So it's more agency to the player. Speaking of maps you don't like, they're actually looking at this also. So they say some maps are considerably longer to others to navigate or complete. And we'll talk about completing in just a moment. So they've reduced the size of the following maps: Augury, Bastille, Bloomingfield, Channel, Epitaph, Fortress, Grimhaven, Hidden Grotto, Oasis, Penitentiary, Rupture, Savannah, Slick, Vow City, and Wetlands. So now these maps are a little bit less of a slog. Also, towers drop their own tablet when you complete a tower and give you vision, so there's still a pseudo reason to do them. But a really important point, we were talking about the sizing and being a slog a bit and stuff in these maps, and this is an important point once you listen to real quick.
Something we've never really been happy with was the base experience of how you complete a map. In PoE 2, we wanted boss fights to feel challenging and rewarding, so we decided to make bosses spawn only in some maps. In all the other maps, the completion condition for the map was killing all the rare monsters. However, we don't really feel this is that enjoyable. It tends to degenerate into just following minimap icons. In order to address this, we're now making all maps contain map bosses. To complete the map, just kill the map boss. You no longer need to kill any rares, and you can do as much or as little of the rest of the map as you please.
Okay, so this is actually a really important point, because now when you're traversing through the actual map itself, like let's say you want to find a citadel and you're having to like explore the map, or maybe you're looking for a jade hut to try to get a Radhika's flow drop to because it's 20 plus divine or what have you, you can explore the map quicker now because every map has a map boss. So if you really just want to complete the map to be able to go to the next one, you just fight the boss, kill the boss, instead of having to hunt down all of the rare mobs. And while you're doing that, citadels should be easier to find because citadels have had their spawn rate increased by 66%. It will also be easier to increase exploration of the map because now you can get the unique tablet that allows you to, teleport. The one that allows you to teleport from the tower. There's just a little bit of like theory here, but because that one used to be really good where you could teleport to anywhere where the tower can see, and if you can put that in any map, you can kind of, as long as you have enough of those tablets, if you want to, just infinitely travel around the map in order to rush down citadels, etc. This also might allow you to do more of a map boss rushing strategy, where if you really wanted to just stack the tablets that have like increased quantity and all of that for killing a boss, you could just stack up bosses and then just rush down bosses on your maps if you wanted to. Again, agency towards the player in terms of actually being able to decide what you want to do within the map is pretty big part of PoE for people, so these are all really good changes. And nerfing annoying things like chilled, shocking, ignite the ground. It's at least 66% of the ground effects covering the ground will be removed. The value is higher on lower tier waystones. For lower tier waystones, they also decreased the amount of mobs you're going to experience, so that way it's a little bit smoother, ramping back up to the higher tier waystones where it's effectively the same as what it is, but they're basically making the amount of mob density lower at the lower tier, so you're not immediately getting swarmed and overwhelmed in lower tier maps as you begin to ramp. There's also one other fundamental change here, which is alchemy orbs can now be used on magic items, meaning you no longer only slam alchemy orbs on white bases. If you have a white base, let's say you get like an exceptional white base, you want to use a perfect transmute, then you want to use a perfect augment in order to try to get 2 stats. It whiffs, you get 2 stats you don't want, you can slam an alchemy on it, and what it would do is give it to 4 random stats, basically chaosing the other 2 stats. It just re-rolls the item in its entirety up to your 4 random modifiers. So that actually means alchemy orbs are going to be more useful. One other major change is now there is 1 to 3 random pieces of content on this. So there will always be either a breach, expedition, ritual, something on the map. You don't have to slam them on with towers or chase the icons. They're actually removing the icons from the Atlas portion in its entirety. So there will always be some extra content available, and obviously you still have the tablets if you choose to use them. Now, keep in mind, these are just what I would consider like sort of band-aid fixes for the in-game. There's still a lot of additions to the in-game that need to be changed. However, I don't think we really expected to get this major of changes within 0.3. They talked many times 0.4 is the in-game changes, but they managed to sneak some in currently. And this is, again, coming out next week. So with the additions that we've already seen that are well received in 0.3, the new additions coming into the late game here, or the in-game kind of changes that are coming in next week at all, we're kind of set up for hopefully another banger league going into 0.4. That's sort of the highlights of what you need to know. Things like the Atlas. How is the Atlas going to, evolve around the new content, etc. With the Atlas tree, basically, things were changed in order to make sense with the new additions into the game, in order to keep everything effectively the same. So these are the only highlights you really need to know in terms of what's going to affect you when you're playing the game. That's about it. Thanks for watching the video. Shout out to Display for sponsoring this video today too, because those panos actually surprised me how cool they look. You might want to consider looking at those. That's about it. That link's in the description if you want to look at it. Have a wonderful day.